Whenever I hire a new employee, that is a responsibility that I take very, very seriously. And it's not just about giving them a job. It's making sure that they have a stable job that they and their family can depend on. It's about making sure that they're safe at work. It's about teaching them a new trade or a new skill, making it to where they can be more successful in their professional life so that they can be more profitable in their personal life. And from time to time as an employer, I have to teach employees things that I wouldn't normally consider to be an employer's job to educate their employees on, like time management or money management. Now, just like at companies everywhere, at my company, whenever you work with somebody shoulder to shoulder, day in and day out for years, in the same holes, digging the same ditches, and running the same pipe, you are going to learn things about their personal life, about their financial situation, and about the relationships that they're in. And under normal circumstances, I make it a rule not to comment on people's intersocial or personal relationships because, for the most part, that's none of my business. But for one of my employees, it became my business pretty quickly whenever we learned or believed that he was in an abusive relationship. Now, I had the suspicion for a while, and I sort of mentioned it to my wives and said, hey, keep an eye on this. And they said, oh, no, we've already noticed that. We're concerned about it too. You should talk to the employee. And then I started being approached by more and more employees. And they said, hey, I'm starting to worry about this guy. And I agreed with them. And we started to see all the telltale signs of emotional abuse, physical abuse, and financial abuse. Things like he couldn't even afford lunch at McDonald's, or every single time that his girlfriend called on the phone, she was doing nothing but scream at him. And on several occasions, she would actually show up at job sites or in public places and get physical with him, pushing him, hitting him, smacking him. And then he started showing up with bruises and black eyes. We'd ask him, are you okay? How'd that happen? What's going on? We'd always get the same answer, and it was always a bullshit answer. He tripped, he fell, he whatever. Well, one day he comes in with a big shiner on his eye. We're like, what happened? He's like, oh, I fell on some steps. I'm like, hey, I know you're bullshitting me. You know you're bullshitting me. You didn't fall on your eye. Well, here's the deal. You're a grown-ass man. If you're going to turn down help, I'm going to mind my own business. And that's exactly what we did. Right up into the point that I got thrust into not his professional life, but his personal life and his financial life. And hell, once I'm there, I'm there. And I'm going to hurt some feelings, and that's exactly what this story's about. 2 years ago, I was sitting at my desk doing some paperwork about noon, and all of a sudden I hear the backup alarm of one of my septic pump trucks. And that's weird, because my septic truck shouldn't be back yet. As a matter of fact, they're supposed to be more than 40 miles away, working on a big job. So why am I hearing a backup alarm from one of my trucks? I get up, I walk to the door, and it is not one of my septic pump trucks. It is in fact a repo truck, a snatch truck. And I'm like, what idiot of a repo driver drives a repo truck and leaves the backup alarm hooked up? You're just asking for a fight at every single pickup that you go to. But, whatever. Now, I drove a repo truck at night in my late 20s to make some extra money, so I have a little bit of experience in the field, and I'm here to tell you that repo trucks are supposed to be quiet and fast. They should be in and out in under a minute. Hook up that truck, do your soft pickup, be gone, take the car someplace safe, do your hard tie down, and be on the way. But don't have a damned backup alarm on. With his backup alarm blaring, he is now on his third attempt trying to back up to my employee's truck, and it's not looking good. And since he's on my property, I've got every right in the world to go down there and ask him what's going on. Now at this point, he's managed to back up to the truck and is out of his truck, and as I come walking up, I can tell that he's agitated before I ever got there. And whenever I'm about 30 feet away, he decides to issue me a verbal command to stop and stay right there. Not come any closer. Yeah, that's not how this works. This is my property and I'll walk where I damn well please. But we're being nice because this guy's just doing his job, and from the looks of it, his day ain't going so great. So from about 30 feet away, I explain, look, this isn't my truck. I'm not here to stop you. This is just my land, and I'm making sure that you're repoing it and not stealing it, because judging by your backing skills, you haven't been a repo driver for very long. So the guy goes to the cab of his truck, pulls out a clipboard, and as I walk up, he hands me the repo order. And sure enough, from FMC, they have ordered this truck to be repossessed. And as I glance at the FMC repo order, I see that this order is over 90 days old. And that is concerning because whenever you finance a car and you stop making payments on it, you have a certain amount of time between when the payment is late and when they'll come get your car. And with Ford Motor Credit, that's usually about 90 days before they'll even issue the repo order. Not all the time, but most of the time. And this repo order is 90 days old, which means 90 plus 90, it's looking like my employee is over 180 days late paying the bill on his truck. And that just leaves me wondering, what the hell is going on? And so for over 30 agonizing minutes, I stand there and watch this repo driver try to do his job, which should have taken no more than 1 minute, 5 at tops. But finally, he gets the vehicle loaded and secured, and it's bye-bye repo driver, bye-bye truck. And as I'm walking back up to the office, I realize this is going to be an interesting way to end my day. Now, at the end of the day, the employee pulls onto property in his company work truck and drives right past where his truck was supposed to be parked. Didn't even notice it was gone. Parks his truck in the parking lot above where all the company trucks goes and comes into the office to fill out his paperwork and clock out. And as he walks in, I said, did you notice anything on your way in? And he looks around and checks his zipper and he's like, no, should I? I said, yeah, your powers of observation are a little lacking. And he starts looking around like, well, what am I supposed to notice? So finally, after about 2 seconds, I told him, I said, look, your truck's not here anymore. And there's kind of like this sense of panic and worry on his face. And he asked, well, where the hell is my truck? I said, well, technically it's not your truck, it's the bank's truck. And if you want to keep your truck, you have to pay the bank their money. And if you don't do that, they'll make your truck their truck and take their truck back, which is exactly what they did. They repoed it. And out of some sense of frustration, he yells at no one in particular, but pretty damn loud, they can't take my truck, while simultaneously throwing down his clipboard. And I look at him and I'm like, apparently you're not paying attention. Not only can they take your truck, they did take your truck, which makes you wrong on 2 accounts, reality and legality. And then it kind of hits him. He kind of starts to figure it out. His truck's gone. It's been repoed. What's he going to do now? And he looks at me and asks that very question. Well, what am I going to do now? So I reach in my pocket and pull out my truck keys. And I said, well, what you're going to do right now is take my truck and go home. You can't do anything right now anyway. Ford Motor Credit is closed. This is not a problem you can solve now. What you need to do is go home, look at your finances, figure things out, and tackle this problem tomorrow when you're fresh and, most importantly, Ford Motor Credit is open for business. And as he's heading out the door, I'm like, look, if you need any help figuring this stuff out, I'm always available. Just let me know. And he says, okay, and off he goes. And a few hours later, around 8:30 at night, my phone rings and it's him. And on the phone is not only him, but also his wife. And she says that they would like to come talk to me so that they could work this problem out. And I said, well, it's, pretty late, but I'm still at the office. Come on down. We'll get everything figured out. And so they do. And they get there at about 9. Now, as we sit down to talk, it becomes very, very clear what the point of this conversation is. And that is that he's not making enough money. He needs to make more money and he needs a pay raise. And this goes on for about 5 minutes. I, in fact, didn't know you could reword, I want more money, I deserve a pay raise, that many ways. And the conversation is being led 100% by her, not him. He's quiet, sitting in the chair, and not saying a damn thing. Now, as she goes on and on and on, I am practicing my active listening skills. I am not interrupting her at all. I'm letting her finish and get it all out of her system. But the only thing I'm thinking is, oh, honey, I'm about to hurt your feelings. And when she's finally done and looks at me with that expectant look, I just look at her and I say, yeah, that's not the problem. You know when you really piss somebody off and they flash through about 3 facial expressions all at the same time? Surprise, anger, acting aghast, the look in their eyes that says, how dare you say that to me? Yeah, that was her. Definitely her. So at this point, I invite him and her to come over and sit beside me as we look at something on the computer. And I pull up the United States Bureau of Labor and Statistics where it talks about wages. And I say, you see that number right there where it says 47-4071? She says, yeah. I said, that is the federal government's ID code for exactly what your husband does, which is sewage worker. And see that number right there, under 10%? That's exactly what your husband made 4 years ago when he came to work for me as an unskilled, untrained manual laborer. And see that number right there where it says 50%? That is exactly what your husband made at the 1 year mark once he knew what the hell was going on in this industry. And see that right there where it says 90%? That's pretty much what your husband makes now, except he makes a little bit more. And what that means is your husband makes more money than 90% of the people that do his job in this country. He's in the top 10% highest paid for what he does. And when you add in overtime, he's one of the highest paid septic workers in the country. So I looked directly at her, straight in her eyes, and I'm like, yeah, so I don't think income's the problem. Have you ever shown somebody something that they couldn't process because it did not align with a deeply held belief structure that they had, and they just couldn't make the two things congruent with each other? Yeah, that's what she was going through. Head cocked to the side, mouth open, just kind of staring. Like, did I break her? Is she alive? She's not moving. The only reason I knew she was alive was because while she was sitting there, she was mouth breathing about 6 inches from my face, looking at the computer screen. God, I hate mouth breathing. And then, like a light bulb, she figured it out. She's got the solution to this problem. She's going to win the argument. She looks over at me and goes, well, obviously that's not enough. Now listen, I'm not going to get flustered with her. This is literally not her fault. She's just financially illiterate and doesn't know what the hell is going on. So I asked her, I said, well, how much is enough? Do you think $20,000 would solve the problem? No answer. I said, what if we just doubled his pay? What if I paid him $160,000 a year? Do you think that would solve the problem? And it is at this moment that the dumbfounded look comes right back onto her face. So I kind of scooted them back into their corner and I explained to them, I was like, look, you don't have an income problem. What you have is a money management problem. I could pay you guys $1 million a year. You're still gonna have the same problem that you have now. I might have struck a nerve with that because she yelled at me, what, you're saying I don't know how to manage my money? And I said, no ma'am. What I'm saying is you don't know how to manage your husband's money. And that is self-evident by the fact that his truck was just repoed. And here's the deal. You don't have a job. You've never had a job. You never graduated high school. You literally live off of his blood, sweat, and tears at the house. And I'll be willing to bet all the money in my pockets against all the money in your pockets that you've never even taken the initiative to watch even the simplest of YouTube videos on how to manage money. So, yeah, I guess I am saying you don't know how to manage money. And I maintained my cool, calm, and collected demeanor as I explained. I said, you think that it's his job to go earn the money and it's your job to manage it. Well, listen, he goes to training to learn how to do his job better, but you've never taken the first step to do any training to learn how to manage the money better. And I know all of this just off the attitude that you came into this office with. Now tell me, am I wrong or am I so right that you're getting angry and can't see straight right now? Now I could tell that she was getting mad because her face was getting about as red as a fire hydrant, but I went on and explained. I said, listen, your husband's worked for me for 4 years. Me and everybody else that knows your husband knows that what happens is he gets his paycheck, goes home, gives it to you, and it goes into your bank account. Not even a joint account, your account. We all know this. You're in charge of the money. And still, there was absolutely no reply from her or him. I said, so listen, you two have been married for about 2 years. Your house is paid off and you have no kids. Right off the bat, that means you have no rent payment and no mortgage payment, which means you're doing better than about 74% of Americans at keeping your bills low. Now, if we look at it, both of you have cars. He bought his used for about $400 a month, and you, of course, bought yours brand new, and that's, let me guess, about $600 a month. So totaling for vehicles, we're looking at about $1,000. Am I in the right ballpark? And she nods yes. I said, so let's go ahead and run through your expenses real quick. You've got about $1,000 in car payments. Let's call your insurance for those cars about $100. You don't have a mortgage payment, and I'm willing to bet that you dropped the homeowner's insurance whenever he finally paid off the house. So there's no homeowner's insurance policy there. You're probably going to pay about $44 for your property taxes for where you live. And whenever we look at your sewer bill and your water bill, you don't have those because you live in the country, and I repair your septic and your well anytime it's broke for free. So if we keep looking at it, let's add in your food and cell phone service. It should bring you to about $1,900 a month. We'll round up to $2,000. Sound fair? And both of them nod yes. So I delved a little deeper into the math and I said, look, he makes about $80,000 a year. Now, Uncle Sam is going to take about $20,000 a year. And your hardline expenses are about $24,000 a year. That means there's about $36,000 left over that should be disposable income. So where did it go? And actually, because you're not paying the truck payment, there should be about $40,000. So where's that? So as I survey the scene that's in front of me, I've noticed that his face is starting to get red for the very first time, and her face has stayed red. And I said, so let me get this straight. At 9 o'clock at night, you have the audacity to walk into my office and tell me how to do my job and how much I should pay your husband, when in fact you're the one that lost $40,000. I mean, but hey, with skills like that, she could probably get a job with the government. Now, most of his attention is now focused on her, so I decided to break that up a little bit too, and I looked over at him and I was like, hey man, you're not without fault here either. You're the breadwinner, the one getting the income. It's your money. It's your responsibility to know where it goes. As a man of the house, you should have an idea of what's happening and stop any problems like this before they become big issues, like your truck being snatched out of a parking lot. I think I've done enough. So what I do is I stand up and I say, look, I'm going to go into the office kitchen and fix my dinner. I've got a tasty steak that's waiting on me and I'm going to cook it. I'm going to leave you two here to figure this out. And I leave. And for the next 20 minutes while I cooked my steak, they talked, fought, yelled, screamed, slammed things in my office, stomped around, went off on each other, and then went back to being pretty quiet. And then, as I'm eating my steak, the door swings open so hard that the door handle punches a hole in the drywall of my office, and she walks out of the office, looks directly at me while I'm eating my steak, and says, "Fuck you!" and walks out the office door, and of course, slams the door on her way out. Because, you know, what's the point in being mad if you're not going to act like a child? Now I'm sitting there eating my steak, and I eat a couple more pieces, and then it occurs to me, I haven't heard him. He hasn't made a peep of a sound. So I get up and I go check, is he still alive? Did she kill him? I peek inside the office, and he is sitting in the chair, gripping the sides of the chair. He is physically shaking at how mad that he is. And I'm like, you okay? I didn't get a reply. I'm like, anything I can do for you? Still no reply. I'm like, well, if you need anything, I'll be in here. And I turn to go leave again, and I hear him say, boss, can you help me file for divorce? Yeah, I can help you file for divorce. That's easy. Now, the road to get everything done has been long and arduous, and it's been about 2 years. But I'm happy to say that after 2 years, not only is the divorce done, but my employee has managed to recover financially. He's no longer asking to borrow money anymore. He's got everything straight, and best of all, he is now engaged to a beautiful woman who both contributes to the household with money, but also with intelligence and effort and love. And to be honest with you, I have never seen my employee more happy, ever, than he is right now. Now, the whole point in me telling you this entire story and parlaying what happened is to drive home the point that no pay raise can fix bad financial habits, bad spending, and just being stupid. You can hand a fool $1 million and he'll be broke in a month. And yeah, for everybody out there, times are tight right now. Shit has literally gotten real. And now, more than ever, is the time that you need to know where your money's going, have a budget, and find where it's just disappearing to. Now, should you be paid more? Maybe. If you're one of those people who puts in the bare minimum effort and slacks off every time you get the chance, yeah, I don't want to hear it. But if you're one of those people that's actually out there trying really hard, yeah, you probably deserve to be paid a little bit more. But here's the thing. You've only got 2 options. Either A, find another job and quit the shitty one, or B, figure out how to make it work. Those are literally your only 2 options. And stop waiting on somebody to come and save you. No one's going to. You've got to save yourself. As a side note, sometimes it's not how you spend your money, but how other people spend your money. So be careful who's in your inner circle and who you're spending your money on. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it, and hopefully this will help somebody out there. And listen, if it didn't help you, chances are you know somebody that could watch this video and maybe learn something. The best way you can support the channel is hit the like and subscribe button or head over to the YouTube merch store and pick up some merch. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later.